There's some good news in Japan. The country has strengthened its rape laws. In fact, it has redefined what constitutes rape. Now, if you're thinking, isn't that obvious? Well, not really. This was Japan's old definition of rape: forcible sexual intercourse. I underline the word force. Now look at the new definition: non-consensual sexual intercourse. The emphasis is now on consent, and this is part of a broader movement that is happening globally. Japan, in fact, is late to it. You see, force is not the only criterion for sexual assault. Even in the absence of force, rape can happen. If you're being blackmailed, if there is abuse of power, if you're incapacitated because of drugs or alcohol, in these cases, there may not be physical force, but there is also no consent. That's what Japan has now recognized. Their lawmakers have made 3 changes. One is the changed definition. The second is raising the age of consent. It was 13 before, now it is 16. And third, specifying situations where it's hard to form consent. 8 situations have been defined, like when you're drunk or when you're scared of consequences if you refuse. Now, why did Japan feel the need to do this now? For starters, because it's the right thing to do, but also because predators were getting away. In 2019, this happened a lot. The rape definition was so narrow that many accused were acquitted. That's when the calls for change began. But laws alone are not enough. They may not be enough to bring real change. Japanese society has trouble talking about things like rape and consent. It's off limits. In fact, here's what a study found in 2021. Only 6% of men and women survivors reported sexual assault. Half of the women were scared of embarrassment, and that tells you what the issue really is. You can't tackle a problem that you refuse to acknowledge. Thankfully, Japanese lawmakers have taken the first step. But elsewhere, even lawmakers are not safe. This is Lydia Trope. She's an independent senator in Australia. On Thursday, she broke down inside Parliament. She talked about being propositioned and inappropriately touched. Listen to this.
There are different understandings of what amounts to sexual assault. What I experienced was being followed, aggressively propositioned and inappropriately touched. I was afraid to walk out of the office door. I would open the door slightly and check the coast was clear before stepping out. It was to the degree that I had to be accompanied by someone whenever I walked inside this building.
That was a senator. She makes laws for her country. She's probably one of the most powerful women around, but even she experienced this. Lydia Trope did not name her harasser on Thursday. Australian Parliament laws forbid that. But the day before, she did name him. Liberal Senator David Van. Listen to this.
This person,
Senator Thorpe, I would just warn you at this point,
sexually assaulted me,
Senator Thorpe,
and the Prime Minister had to remove him from his office.
Senator
And to
Thorpe,
have him talking about this today is an absolute disgrace.
Now, he's denied the allegations, but his party has decided to exclude him from further meetings. I'm sure this happens elsewhere too. Maybe in Australia, the lawmakers are finally speaking up. In 2021, there was a public inquiry into sexual harassment inside Australia's parliament. The findings were astonishing. 1 in 3 people had been harassed. And remember, this is inside the parliament. 1 in 3 people. Lydia Trope's first sentence sums up the problem. I want you to listen to it again.
There are different understandings of what amounts to sexual assault.
It's true. Sexual harassment is not just about being physically forced. It can be comments, it can be gestures, which is why defining it is so important. Take marital rape, for example. There are people who think marriage is permanent consent, that their spouse is obliged to do what they want, which is totally wrong. But many countries do not recognize this. Marital rape is not an offense in 32 countries, including India. The Supreme Court is hearing the matter. It has made critical comments on the issue. So the hope is marital rape will soon be criminalized. But I come back to my earlier point. Laws alone are not enough. Societies need to evolve and understand. If not, survivors will never speak up. Their voices will be suppressed by fears of disapproval and embarrassment.